This brand is a Kenmore 90 series washer with a broken motor coupling. You can tell it's broken because when you listen to it, you hear a loud click, click, click. Go over a couple of things you need to remember before you start at this job. First thing, we are at the end of the job now, but I'm going to explain a few things that you need to do. First, turn off the water. Second, unplug the washer from the wall. Third, when you take this out, you're going to end up with a lot of water, so make sure that you have a container to capture the water. Alright, I'm here now. I'm getting ready to replace the coupler link, which is located right here. It's the type of link that you replace when your washer won't spin. So that's what we're going to do now. We're going to replace this. Alright, I have removed 3 nuts that were located here. This is a clamp that supports this piece onto the main plate before we can get at the coupler. So what I have done is I had to use, or I have removed rather, this nut. It was located up here. Then I had to pry off this locking plate, which has now allowed me to gain access to moving this completely off. And now I'll have access to the coupler. Here you can see we're at the next stage. Both clamps have been removed and this piece has come off. We now have access to the coupler, and you can see the coupler. And just to let you know, normally the telltale signs that you need to replace the coupler is that the washer will not spin out, and you can tell that you are correct in assuming that this was the problem when you grab onto the coupler itself and you haul it out, it falls apart. So as you can see, it's broken. The next piece we need to take off, a little bit more complicated than the last few. I'll show you why. I hope that you can see this. I'll put some light onto it. As you can see, there's a steel piece, so I'm going to try to show you this. Let's see. And you take your wrench, put it right in here, and then just ease it out. And it does come out fairly easily. The reinstallation of these components are fairly simple. Let's see if I can show you. You take your rubber washer and you just slide these pieces in. You'll notice that you have 3 remaining holes, and you take the other piece and you slide it in, and now you have completed your metal version of the washer coupling. Now I'm going to show you how to put it in. It's fairly simple. As you can see, it's sort of like an octagon shape, or maybe a rectangular shape. You take that and slide it right on here. Okay, it's important to note that when you're putting, I'm going to try to use my finger just to show you, when you're putting this sleeve onto the metal, I'm going to try to lighten it up for you, you want to make sure that it's sunk directly in. Let me see if I can explain it a bit better. Right now it's raised. I'm going to be tapping it in. You probably might want to use a hammer in order to tap it in properly. In order to get this done, you'll notice that I tapped on 2 pieces separately. The piece that's going directly onto the motor, I tapped that on with the hammer ever so gently until I had it all nice and flush. I've also done the same up here. And now I also have my rubber washer in between. I'm getting ready to reassemble this. So what will end up happening, I'll be taking this up, lifting it up, and lining it up here. It's kind of hard to do in my confined space to show you exactly how I'm going to do it, but that's the gist of it. I'm going to try to show you as much as I can to make sure that you don't run into these same problems. I had to remove this clamp from the back of this motor so I could lift up the motor safely to mount the, I guess, this here to the inside over here. I just wanted to let you know that you're going to have to remove it. I had to do it in my case. Alright, I have lifted this into place. I made sure that the new bracket that I put in is mounted properly and they've lined up. These are 2 clips. They secure the motor to, I guess what I'll call the bottom of the agitator. Okay. Up on top there's going to be a little nut, and for me I needed to use an Allen wrench and the socket because I just didn't have enough clearance to put a full socket right in here. I got 3 nuts to put back on. Here's one. You line them up with the holes. Pretty pretty straightforward. I'm using a 1/2 inch wrench. Tighten them up. Of course, we're going to place this back here, and we're going to use the clamp to secure it to the pump. Another tricky part I want to remind you all of, when you go to tighten up these nuts, make sure you tighten them up good right here, because they might feel and look like they're tight, but it does take a while to tighten them up properly. Trust me, when it's there, you'll know. There we go. That's just about it. Don't forget to hook up your overflow for to drain off from the washer, and as well hook up the correct hot to hot and cold to cold, and we'll soon be ready to test out the washer. As with any job you do, make sure to test for leaks. And remember, the #1 insurance claim for homes right now is rubber hoses that are attached to washers that break. A lot of people recommend going with steel braided hoses. I recommend go with the steel braided hose instead of the rubber. They swell, crack, burst, and there's a lot of extra water. Okay, well, what turned out when I turned on the water, it actually started to pee out right here. Leak really, really bad. So I've taken my own advice and I bought the steel braided hoses. Again, the reason I'm mentioning the steel braided, #1 cause for insurance claims is a busted rubber hose. So when you're talking to people, they normally recommend steel braided. As well, I picked up some plumber's tape, and we're going to make a nice tight seal in here by wrapping it around the edges. We're ready to do our test. Yesterday, when I was doing this, one of the first things to remember, if you hear this, she's plugged in. So, you hear like a buzzing sound. Well, that buzzing sound means that you don't have your water turned on. Doesn't mean you got your job done wrong, just means you don't have the water turned on. So we're going to start with turning on the water. Okay, we have the water on. And now that we have our water on, we check for leaks. And we look, first inspection looks good. Next thing we need to do, so now we're getting water, and we check for leaks. We normally do what's called a toilet paper test, and what it is, you take a piece of toilet paper and you rub it around these connections. I've already done that, and I know that it's dry. So I'm good to go. Next step, make sure this fills up. Let it go through a cycle, which is what we're going to do. We're going to go through a cycle, and we'll know that everything's working. What I do is I actually put a load of clothes in. So right now, you can see it's agitating, and there's no loud click, click, click noise, which is showing that the new part for the motor coupling is actually doing its job. I thought I'd wrap up by showing you everything worked out okay. It's gone through a full cycle, it is drained, there's no clicking, and everything's working. So remember, when you're doing this, if you hear a loud click, 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 that more than likely is the motor coupling. Almost 100% of the time, motor coupling. Motor coupling itself, taxes included, $17. And I'm going to include in this video where you can purchase one if you're living in the Ontario area, and perhaps even a link to a motor coupling if you're not in Ontario and in North America. Alright, thanks for watching.